Clang. The snap of bolt cutters shattered the quiet morning air. My Jeep's security chain fell, and so did her fate. This wasn't just a car, it was a federal task force vehicle. And in that moment, Karen's HOA power trip became a federal crime. What would you do? My name's Rodriguez, Army Reserve, newly assigned to a federal drug task force. A few months ago, I inherited my grandmother's house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. I thought it would be a safe place, a reminder of her love, and a little piece of stability while I served. That house meant more than walls and windows. It was filled with the smell of her cooking, the creak of floorboards where she taught me right from wrong. She used to tell me, "Mijo, you stand up to bullies, but you do it the right way." Parked outside that house sat my Jeep. But it wasn't just transportation, it was government property. A federally issued task force vehicle equipped with encrypted radios, surveillance gear, and evidence lockers worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was part of my mission to keep drugs off the streets. And that's exactly what made it the wrong target for the wrong woman. Backhand index pointing right. Quick question for you. If you saw a Jeep with federal police decals in your neighborhood, would you ever try to mess with it? Drop a oncoming police car in the comments if your answer is no way. Enter Karen. You know the type, 50-something Lexus SUV, sunglasses always perched like a crown, and a ruler in her hand to measure lawn height. As the HOA president, she treated Willowbrook Estates like her personal kingdom. 2 weeks after I deployed, my sister Maya called me in tears. A violation notice had arrived. Unauthorized commercial vehicle in driveway. The commercial vehicle? My government-issued Jeep. Maya tried reasoning with her. She showed Karen my deployment papers. She offered to cover the Jeep with a tarp. But Karen just smirked and said, "Rules are rules. Maybe this neighborhood isn't right for your family." What she didn't expect was that I knew the rules better than she did. I dug through my grandmother's old HOA paperwork before I deployed. Buried in the bylaws, it clearly stated, military, emergency, and law enforcement vehicles were exempt from parking restrictions. Karen wasn't enforcing rules. She was making them up. That's when a thought hit me like a gut punch. Karen wasn't just targeting my Jeep. She was targeting me, and every other military family who couldn't fight back. Karen escalated quickly. She sent more letters, threatened daily fines, even mentioned putting a lien on Grandma's house. Each message dripped with the kind of smug power only a suburban tyrant could wield. Maya called again. Her voice cracked as she said, "Tank, she told me supporting you could hurt my teaching job. She said her husband knows people on the school board." That's when we started comparing notes with neighbors. A Marine family had been cited for a too loud motorcycle. A Navy wife got fined for unprofessional garden decorations. Another family received warnings because their baby cried too much at night. Every single one of them connected to the military. It was a pattern, a harassment campaign aimed at driving military families out. And the worst part? Most neighbors were too scared to speak up. Karen had created a climate of fear, hiding behind HOA authority and her husband's political connections. But here's where the story takes a twist. While Karen thought she was making my life miserable with fines and threats, what she didn't know was that my Jeep wasn't just a Jeep. It was loaded with federal surveillance systems, systems that record everything. And soon, that data would expose her in ways she never imagined. Backhand index pointing right. What would you have done at this point? Confront her or wait until she crossed the line? Comment below. The breaking point came in the form of a registered letter. Maya opened it at the kitchen table, her hands trembling. Immediate removal of vehicle or emergency, towing within 24 hours. Her voice shook when she called me overseas. "Tank, there's a tow truck circling the block. The driver keeps looking at your Jeep like he's measuring it up." I clenched my jaw halfway across the world. This wasn't just harassment anymore. She was plotting to steal federal property. Here's the kicker. My Jeep's hidden systems tracked everything. GPS logs, motion sensors, even cameras. And the data showed Karen trespassing 17 times in 3 days. She wasn't just leaving notices. She was snooping, photographing, measuring. To the average neighbor, it looked like HOA business. To the federal government, That's tampering with surveillance equipment. That's a felony. I filed a complaint through military legal channels. Within hours, it triggered a review. Karen thought she was untouchable. But her fabricated HOA letters had just landed on the radar of federal authorities. And the timing couldn't have been better. Because the very next morning, at 6:47 a.m., Karen made the worst decision of her life. The morning was calm. Sprinklers hissed, birds chirped, neighbors brewed coffee. And then clang. Bolt cutters bit through my security chain. Sparks flew. My Jeep shook under her grip. Maya's phone camera caught everything. Karen, in her bathrobe, hair wild, barking orders at a tow truck driver she'd paid in cash. Load it up. HOA authority overrides everything. The driver froze when he saw the decals. Federal Task Force vehicle. He stepped back, muttering, "Lady, I'm not touching that thing." He peeled off down the street, tires screeching. But Karen wasn't done. She waved the new gate keys in the air. She changed the locks on the community entrance, blocking even police access. If he wants his precious truck, he can follow proper HOA procedures, she shouted. What she didn't realize was that cutting that lock triggered more than a broken chain. It triggered the Jeep's federal alert system. GPS pings shot across state databases. Homeland Security servers lit up, and sirens were already racing toward Willowbrook Estates. Neighbors peeked from windows, watching her meltdown unfold like a suburban soap opera. Maya kept filming, her voice shaking. "Tank, she's cutting your locks. She's stealing your Jeep right now." By the time Karen realized the tow truck had ditched her, it was too late. Federal agents were minutes away, and her face was already burned into government databases. Backhand index pointing right. Be honest. Would you have loved to see her face when the sirens showed up? Smash the like button if yes. The moment federal SUVs rolled in, the show was over. Agents in tactical jackets stormed the gates. Neighbors poured into the street, phones out, recording every second. Karen puffed up her chest. "This is private HOA property. Federal law doesn't apply here." The lead marshal raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, you've just obstructed federal agents and attempted theft of government equipment. Open the gate, or we'll open it ourselves." The clink of handcuffs echoed louder than the bolt cutters ever had. Karen's smirk evaporated as she was led away, still in her robe, shouting about community standards. Her husband tried to back her up, but federal investigators had already traced embezzled HOA funds and development deals tied to their family. Within days, his career was over too. The neighborhood, once silenced by fear, erupted in applause as Karen's suburban empire crumbled in real time. When I finally returned home, the air felt different. Neighbors waved again. Maya smiled without fear. And Grandma's house, our legacy, stood safe, untouched. Karen faced federal charges: theft of government property, obstruction of justice, harassment of military families. She went from HOA president to convicted felon in record time. The HOA reformed overnight. No more fabricated rules. No more intimidation. Military families now had protections written into the bylaws, thanks to Maya leading a recall vote. Standing in that kitchen, I thought of Grandma's words: "Stand up to bullies, but do it the right way." And we had, together, the real moral. Bullies thrive on fear and silence. But the moment you shine light on their lies, they crumble. Backhand index pointing right. Share your own HOA nightmare stories in the comments. Who knows? Maybe your story will be the next one we tell here. And don't forget to subscribe for more true tales of suburban justice.